to Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress is the goal. I am your host, Andrea Gebhardt. I'm a former educator turned passionate entrepreneur whose desire to create impact has never wavered. I have spent the last decade teaching, mentoring, and coaching people on how to create success in their lives and businesses with proven strategies and systems that not only bring about change, but big results. When it comes down to it, teaching is my specialty, leadership is my jam, and inspiring you to live a bigger, fuller life is what I'm all about. This podcast will give you the knowledge and tools you need to brew success in almost any area of your life. You're going to walk away each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to step outside your comfort zone and into the next level of who you're meant to be. Now let's get into today's episode. If you have ever said that leadership is lonely or that it's lonely at the top, well then I want you to know that today's episode is 100% for you. Or maybe it's just that your inner leader is dying to get out and do big things. Well, then this episode is also for you. And ultimately, if you want to become the type of leader that others aspire to be, then you definitely want to take some notes today because I am confident that this episode will absolutely be a catalyst of change for you. I'm pretty sure that you have probably never heard of the term or the phrase utility leadership. And to be super honest, neither had I as a developing, growing leader. And today we're going to discuss what utility leadership is and the difference that it makes. So when I was developing the ABCs of leadership and I got to the letter U, there were so many options. I could have used understanding. I thought about utilize. I thought about underestimation. And I could have taken this a million or, well, maybe a few different directions. But one of the filters, I ran this through in my mind. And this is a really, especially if you're a leader and you're leading people and you're in leadership and leadership is your jam, you can totally take this filter and carry it with you because it's just so good. But one of the filters I ran this through in my mind as I was creating this series was, what is it that great leaders do? What should developing leaders know? And what do I wish that I had learned earlier in my leadership journey? This has been helpful in choosing the best things for each of the letters in this series. And it's also really one of the best things that I personally use when I decide what type of things I'm going to teach, how I'm going to mentor, what content I'm going to develop. So I decided on selecting the word utilize for the letter U simply because utilization is a skill we don't really talk about in leadership, and it's a concept that we rarely explore. But in all honesty, it's something we definitely need to shift our focus to a lot sooner than we do. So one of the best things a leader can do is get good at utilizing their own strengths. Oftentimes, what I see is developing leaders trying to do and be all the things. But you have to know that you were not made, and this is probably a good time to earmuff your ego for a second. You were not made to do and be all the things. The best of the best leaders utilize their personal strengths and they work in their strength zone. That's how they do their best work, how they inspire others, and how they make the biggest impact. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what are my strengths? Trying to figure that out. And of course, you can take a quiz, you can learn and become a student of yourself. And if that is the route you want to go, I highly recommend the Strengths Finder quiz and book. But you can also think about what others tell you your strengths are. And you know this because people always say gosh, you're so good at this, or you're such a good that. For me personally, I'm always told that I'm good at teaching things. I'm good at taking complicated concepts and breaking them down into simple, comprehensible, tangible tasks. And this isn't surprising to me. I'm an educator. Teaching will always be a strength of mine. What are your strengths? Are you utilizing them? You see, when you show up in your strengths, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like reward. It feels natural, and you're in your full-blown flow mode. When you're underutilizing your strengths, you will find yourself in a rut, stagnant, or even frustrated at times. And this happens because you're not operating at your best, where you shine and where you flourish. You're simply spinning your wheels trying to do and be the things you are not. And this is why teams are so important. This is where teams really come into play. And this is why teams matter. You have to know that no one ever achieves success on their own, because there's not a single person on the planet who has it, like who has all that it takes and can do all the things it takes to accomplish the big things. Dreams are simply not possible without teams. Behind every great thinker, a team. Behind every great writer, a team. Behind every great inventor, a team. Behind every great artist, a team. Behind every great entertainer, a team. Every great political leader, a team. This is where the concept of utility leadership comes into play, because one of the most important aspects of leadership is not just leading and inspiring people. It's about getting a group of people to work collectively to fulfill a vision. And to do that effectively, a leader must improve the efficiency of the team as well as improve the achievement of goals. After all, a big vision is fulfilled by accomplishing milestone goals along the way. This requires an acute awareness of the strengths of the group, which are essentially the resources available in terms of individual abilities, so that you always know who is best and who the best person is for the task that will advance the goal. The only way to guide an organization is to be highly aware of who is in the organization and what their strengths are. Utility leadership is about utilizing the strengths of the team. Good leaders lean on their own strengths to carry the vision. That's why burnout happens. That's why resentment happens. That's why you feel like you struggle to motivate, or people on your team aren't as motivated as you. That's why it's lonely at the top, because nobody understands the struggles, because you're relying on your own strengths to get you there. Great leaders, on the other hand, utilize the strengths of the people on their team to carry out the vision. Strong teams are built by leveraging the strengths of many. Therefore, you must come to know the strengths of those you lead. Some of your greatest creators, communicators, designers, leaders, teachers, problem solvers, culture developers are right under your nose, and you're not even aware of it. It's not that your team lacks anything. You, as the leader, just lack the knowledge of who the people on your team really are and what they have to offer. When you're not aware of this as a leader, you're operating as a solopreneur. You may have a team, but you're not leading them. You're not tapping into their greatest gifts, and therefore you are totally missing out on the real point of leadership, which is to grow, develop, and empower people beyond where they are. This is why people say that leadership is lonely at the top. They haven't activated their teams. They're the only ones doing the things because they haven't taken the time or made the effort to identify the strengths of the people and equip them for leadership roles. It shouldn't be lonely at the top. You should be working alongside of people. You should be developing people. You should be empowering people, so you aren't always the only one trying to do and be all the things for the team. The best way to identify the strengths of the people on your team is to simply ask them what they're good at and what they enjoy doing, and then delegate accordingly. Just out of curiosity, when was the last time that you reached out and asked who likes to create graphics, who loves being on camera, Who's good at writing copy? Who enjoys planning meetings? Who loves creating social media content? Always remember that the best jobs are always done by those who do them best. If you don't ask, chances are you'll never know. Now, of course, you might be sitting here wondering how all of this applies to you if you don't have a team of people that you're leading yet. And well, here it is. You have to advocate for yourself and for your strengths. You have to create the opportunity for yourself to become an asset to the team. Have you spoken up? Have you put yourself out there to take on a task that interests you? Have you reached up to say, hey, over here, I'm really good at this or really strong in that, and I would love the opportunity to contribute to the team by doing this? If you want your strengths to be utilized, if you want to be developed and mentored, if you want to be empowered and equipped for leadership, then you have to stand out amongst the crowd, speak up, and create the opportunity for your strengths to be utilized. In fact, I challenge you to do this today. What are your strengths? What do you love doing? What are you naturally good at? Have you told someone you're ready to contribute in that area? Here's the deal, my friends. Developing leaders don't wait for access. They ask for it. You know, I've been building the business that I'm in currently right now for the last 2 years, and knowing that my strengths are communication, knowing that my strengths are teaching, knowing that my strengths are creating and developing systems. Every time there's been an opportunity to teach something, create something, develop a system for something, I am the first person like, I'm here. I've got this. Let me jump in. This is my specialty. This is where I know I'm good. This is how I can best serve the team. See, when you stand up in your strengths and show up in your strengths, you serve the team at such a greater capacity. This is how you become an asset to the organization. This is how you establish credibility in your organization. This is how you show higher level leadership or management that you are really serious about wanting to be developed, to be mentored, to contribute to the team. And you start to, gain a little bit of a different level of attention. You start to be taken a little bit more serious as a developing leader because you put yourself out there. See, so many people sit on the wayside, like they just wait for somebody to notice them. They wait for somebody to notice or call out their strengths. And here's the deal. We're not 10-year-olds in a classroom hoping our teacher recognizes our potential. We are full-grown adults. Most of us who are listening to this, we do have some really incredible high school age kids that are enjoying this podcast. But for the most part, we are full-grown adults who are aware of our strengths. And if we're not, again, I encourage you to go figure out what those are. You probably have a really good idea, but how are you advocating for yourself, and how are you advocating for your strengths? How are you putting yourself out there in a way that you can contribute to the team based on doing what you love doing? Let me just talk about how that makes the work so much more fun. I can't even tell you how excited I am to be sharing all of this with you today, by the way. I'm sure you can tell. Having this level of awareness, regardless of where you are in your leadership journey, is going to put you miles ahead. It's like you just got to go on that super speed part of the racetrack in the Mario Kart games, right? That's going to give you an unfair advantage. If you want to be a great leader, operate in your strength zone all the time. If you want to be a leader others aspire to be, practice utility leadership. Shine the light on others in your team and your organization. Delegate, empower, and equip those you lead by utilizing their strengths for the greater good of the team as well as the vision. Imagine what our businesses would look like. Imagine what our teams would look like. Imagine what our leadership would turn into if we as leaders were strength finders. Imagine if all we focused on were strengths. There would be no room in the conversation for weaknesses. There would be less shortcomings. There would be less resentment. There would be less unhappy people on the team. And there would be more productivity if we focused on strengths. There would be more engagement and more buy-in and loyalty if everyone was contributing in the area that they are best suited to. Imagine if our teams were made up of people not just aware of their strengths, but working in them daily. Our teams would be unstoppable. The culture, crazy contagious, and the level of results would be unheard of. So the next time a project comes up, instead of trying to do it all, ask yourself, who would be best for this task? Next time, instead of feeling overwhelmed by the upcoming workload, ask who has strengths in this particular area and would like to contribute to the project. Instead of focusing on the challenges and the weaknesses of those on the team, celebrate and delegate based on their strengths. Utility leadership isn't just smarter leadership, it's essential to leadership if leading is really what you want to do. You guys, thank you for being here, for being a part of the Brewing Success community where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress is the goal. Let's inspire growth, change, and progress in the world around us. Share this episode with 3 friends. Share it, tag it, show it in your stories. If you'd be so kind, take a few moments today, jump over to the podcast, leave a review, because that really helps get this podcast into the hands, into the minds, and into the hearts of so many others.